Yo, what's up? What's up? It's the Hungry Millennial back again with yet another Proactive Pragmatism. On this Proactive Pragmatism, we carry on with our series Millennials Are. This next millennial that I'd like to bring to the podcast is fresh, fit, competent, and most of all, authentic. He's hailing from the city of Chicago, and I know you're going to like the gems and the jewels that he drops on the podcast. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Myles Morgan. Yo, Myles, what's going on, brother?
Yo, how you doing, man? How you been?
I'm good, man. Welcome to the podcast. It's been what? It's been years.
Yeah, it's been years, man. Thanks for having me, though. I see what you're doing, man. You're doing big things. Gratitude.
I appreciate it, man. So what's been up in your world lately? I know we just got out of COVID, and you know that's probably been rough in the city, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, especially when it first hit. It was nuts.
Like, what did that feel like? Because I was in Kuwait at the time.
All right, so yeah, when it first hit here, it was scary, man. Everybody everybody had gloves, masks. It was crazy. Like the first time like I heard of it, you know what I mean? Like my mom, she got real scared. Like my brothers, like everybody was just like not trying to go outside. It was nuts.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. So before we get into the podcast, get a little deeper in depth, can you let the listeners know who Myles Morgan is and how you got started as Playboy Slick?
Well, man, I'm definitely from Chicago. Like I say, like he said, my name is Myles Morgan. I actually, I started this hooping. That's kind of how I got my nickname, from like playing basketball. So it was just Slick. Then I started like rapping, like digging into the rapping. So, you know what I mean? It just kind of like it went together. So yeah, that's pretty much how I came up with that. You know, people just were calling me Slick. I kind of added the Playboy myself, though.
No, facts. And that's the thing, though, is like, I think people forget, like in the social media world, like we kind of got to reinvent ourselves and bring ourselves, you know what I'm saying? Like branding is everything. And you've done a good job at that. Like kudos to you, because it's hard out here in this Instagram world. Like people don't understand like what it takes to make content. So, some of the things so listen to your music. Some of the things that you talk about in your music are, the city, hooping and, being a ladies' man and then dropping music. Like, how does that feel? Like, what is that process like? How do you even balance all that? Because I know the chicks be hitting you, DMing you on the gram. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's got to be rough.
Yeah, man. Actually, I put my focus into, things that I think as a man, when anything that kind of like is success, that, that deemed success, is it comes with women. It comes with, different things. So like basketball and music, those are two things that I put my focus into. And within that, of course, women come. And so, but as far as balancing it, I really I focus on what I focus on, which is the music and the hoops, and everything else is just, it's next. But now music and basketball, that's my main focus.
Okay, that's real. So recently I noticed on basketball, you've done this. Is it like a city to city tour, or like you go from like park to park, just hooping on cats? Like what was that?
I'm gonna go from park to park, like locally. You know what I mean? It's easier. You know what I mean? I'm definitely, I got a couple guys in LA that I'm cool with, a few people, you know what I mean, in different places. And they told me when I come out there, I can do the same thing. But I was trying to like give our city, I feel like the city, it hasn't really had, you know what I mean? I remember like actually like And1, like I think they came to one of the parks, like Franklin Park. It was out here in Chicago. And it was like, you know what I mean? Like that was great for the city, because it was just something that was refreshing. It was new. It was, it brought people together. So, I mean, like what I'm doing is more so to kind of give Chicago that feel that we used to have when it came to the hoops. I think we lost it. So that's just really just local.
That's real. Well, and it's interesting that you say that, because when it comes down to like hooping, like I would have thought And1 would have done like a totally different set.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like a whole spread in Chicago, because there's so many different parks. It's so much history there.
Yeah.
How do you feel currently about the state of like athletics and like Chicago? Because what I see is a lot of players, we had, Derrick Rose was cracking. He's still doing his thing. He's doing his legacy thing. But it seems like the Bulls, like we can rarely ever get anybody to actually stay in the city.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
The weather for one, I think is a huge issue. I feel like then too is like Chicago's gotten a bad rep. I mean, I feel like, you know, Michael Jordan he set the bar so high. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like Chicago, it hasn't been able to reach that pinnacle since then. So he set the bar so high, and it's like we failed every time, year after year. So I think that's why people might come and then they leave, like they never can make it a home because we just, you know what I mean? He set the bar too high. I think he set the bar way too high.
Well, and Mike, that's the thing about Mike, though, is like his bar is way too high. And sometimes I'm like, is this realistic? He was trying to sell his McMansion for like $23,000. Like, I'm like, really?
I didn't even know that.
I mean, or 23 million. My bad. I messed that up. 23 million.
Okay.
But like, that's like cap because like, ain't nobody really paying 23 million for a mansion in the cold. Like, my man's left. So like,
But it's Mike though, like that's Mike. I mean, I don't know, man. He's such an icon, bro. It's like it's some rich folks that'll probably do it just cause Mike stayed there, bro. Like he's really like a godlike figure. It seems like, you know what I'm saying. So I mean, I can see it.
That's real. So you're more of a LeBron fan, or like how do you measure greatness between LeBron and Jordan? Because that's been a major debate.
Yeah, I think it's not really a debate. I think for one, I think the times and the eras are different, and I also think that Jordan Kobe's my favorite player. Like
Kobe, really?
Yeah, for sure. Like,
okay.
So Kobe is my favorite player, but I will admit that I don't think you can give him the title to be the GOAT. You know what I mean? Not right. It's like Bron did so much and with longevity, and then Michael Jordan's his resume is like flawless. So it's like, you know what I'm saying?
It really is.
Well,
and they're both like, so, you know, it's interesting that people talk about like the community between Mike and LeBron. The issue is Mike didn't have social media. Yeah. And he built a lot of clout, but he also did a lot of philanthropic stuff, right? Yeah. You seem to be a man of the community. So what does it mean to you when you see athletes, you know, really digging deep, creating schools and doing stuff like that? Because you're also, you know, a special education classroom assistant. So how do those two things tie hand in hand? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's a duty. I think that when you're an athlete, even from a younger age, I think you kind of like just take on the title of being like a role model. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just comes with the territory. So I think like me playing sports, I always had like kids that looked up to me, or, you know what I mean, peers. So with me, it was more so like giving back and giving people a chance or opportunity to see somebody move a little bit different. You know what I mean? I think so with guys like LeBron, and I think they do the same thing. Like they tap into, like, I'm not just a basketball player. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you see people that look like me, that everybody play basketball, but everybody don't have a heart to give to others. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So a lot of people utilize the game to give to themselves or their family. You know what I mean? But I tap into like using that to like my popularity through basketball to give to other people. You know what I mean? It was the same thing, I think, of course, on a whole nother level, like LeBron and those guys. But I think that's why you got to tip your hat off to people like that.
That's real. And so when you talk about, you know, using the game to, you know, expand influence, how did you, because I would say you're kind of an influencer of sort of culture on the ground. So like, how do you manage being so fly and doing all that? Because dog, you got a new picture every other day. Like, you the flyest man I know on the gram. Like, I remember, I think I was buying some kicks, maybe. I don't know what I was doing in the city, but I think he was working at a shoe store or something at the time. But I was like,
lids.
Yeah, it was lit. Okay, lids. That was back when I was into the hats.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this dude must be a model. Like, so do you do any modeling, or like you just put your all into everything you do? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I did like previously, but I kind of like, I don't know, man. I think the thing is that I'm just like an artist. Like, I like to express, you know what I'm saying? So I think with everything, like with modeling, music, fashion, I think it all ties into one. So, you know what I mean? With me, that's why sometimes it's hard to find the lane, because I just express. One day I might feel like taking a picture. I might feel like dropping a song the next day. The next day I might feel like, you know, dressing up. Like, it depends. But I think they all tie into one. So I'm not really a model, but I'm an artist.
Okay. It's art. Okay,
It's
all
an art.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's how Nip actually looked at it. Like I was watching an interview this morning, and he was just talking about how like he would even pull back away from music
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I also used to think that like I was like, man, why ain't they dropping more music? Why ain't they dropping more music?
Yeah,
But when I heard him talk about pulling away and coming back, I went and looked at some of his older music, and I'm
yeah,
gonna be honest with you. Like if somebody gave me a Nip CD back then, like
right,
respect, you know what I'm saying, to the legend,
right. Ain't no wrong with that. Yeah,
I probably wouldn't have, you know what I'm saying? It
yeah,
wasn't nearly as busting. So you see the
yeah,
progression.
yeah, for sure.
So I see there was some time between some of your albums. So what does that process look like as a creative pulling back and then diving back in?
Yeah, I
And
think
why
it's
would you pull back? Like, so why did you pull back between a couple albums? Because your style actually changed a little bit as well.
yeah, for sure. Uh, it actually, I mean, it ties a lot into the people, you know what I mean, the camp that you have as far as like, you know, you have different engineers, different producers. And a lot of times, like the thing about the music industry is, and what I would, the advice I would give anybody who is choosing to do music is it's best to get a team, you know what I'm saying, a team of your people that you can rely on. Because when I stop, usually it's because I kind of tie into people who aren't as serious as I am, or you know what I mean, they serious one day and they not serious the next. So it's like that's usually the only reason that I stop. You know what I mean? I've dealt with some no disrespect, but some janky people and then in the industry. And you know, that's just that. But if it was up to me, I consistently do music all the time. But you gotta have the right camp, man.
Okay, that's real. Well, and I think when you talk about the right camp, so like what does that look like? Because so I think people get confused like when it comes down to like the instant ability to make music. Because
Yeah,
you know, people are like, yeah, you can just get on your phone and start rapping. And I'm
yeah, no,
like,
no,
they're like, oh yeah, why don't you just pick up your phone and start podcasting? I'm like, dog,
yeah,
like this is a process.
yeah. And you
And
look at it like that, yeah, for sure.
and so how do you so like how do you go about like choosing a producer or like do you just like keep all the tracks that you gonna do like in your phone or something? Like how do you do that?
Yeah, it's like a field thing. And to piggyback off what you said, like as far as like you, I could tell too with your podcast, you put a lot of thought into it. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of people like we in like a microwave era. So you know what I mean? Like certain things are they just like to everybody is second nature. Like, oh, podcast, I'm gonna do a podcast. Like people just wake up like I'm gonna do a podcast, so I'm just gonna rap. I mean, you know what I mean? And it's like when you really look at it, like the longevity or the success is like the way you doing it. Like you got a blueprint, you formulated a plan, you have steps to take. You know what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like that. The same thing with me and music, but I think with the music is more so a feel thing. Like when you feel it, you do it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not one of them guys who like just be like rap. Like I'm just rapping all like you know what I mean? I have to feel it and then I'll write. You know what I mean? So that's my process when it comes to making music. It's
Okay.
like an emotion.
Okay. And so like so just I don't know, like you don't really have to get into financial specifics, but like when it comes to like getting a producer to produce it, like what does that process look like? Like how much is,
Yeah.
you know, like a song to produce and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. See, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I've been fortunate enough that like the people that I do go to, that I go to like a studio and the engineer. A lot of times the engineer produces as well. You know, some places the engineer is strictly engineers and it's another producer. But like I've been fortunate enough that those guys rock with my style. So they kind of like looked out, you know what I mean? But typically, I mean, it depends. You can pay between $50 to $100 for a beat, and then you got to pay for your studio time. A lot of people, that's what I'm saying. Like it's really expensive too. And like I said, that's more advice that I would give somebody who's deciding to do music. You gotta have a financial backing. If it's you, that's cool. If you got somebody to support you, but in order to, that's really all I think music is. Like visuals, everything has a price. You know what I mean? You get what you pay for in the music business. So it's like, you know what I mean? That could slow a lot of people down. I know a lot of talented people, and they just don't have the finances to back up their talent. So it's definitely expensive though, for sure.
Wow, that's real. And that's the thing is like even when it comes because you're a hooper, like even when it comes to hooping, like I think a lot of people they mistake the part that like somebody can be extremely talented and
Yeah,
extremely motivated and never get a shot.
that's what
Like I
people
had
don't
one of my
understand.
guys on here, Joe Bon Williams, to shout out to him. It's one of those things where like he got locked up on some, you know what I'm saying, some
Yeah,
stuff that he did back in the day. But like I've seen him out hoop like some of the best hoopers in my town.
Right.
And I think that's where, like, as humans, like, we forget to apply empathy when it comes down to it. Because we start hearing music, like, I got people that, like, they're like hometown cats, but I'm like, why aren't you producing music? But then I got to step back and be like, yo, why aren't you producing more podcasts, Jack? You know what I mean? Like, because those two things transcend each other. But I think that's real. I appreciate you giving advice to the people out there that are big dreamers. Like, it's going to take a lot of work, finances, and time. And sometimes you never know when you actually going to pop. Yeah. So you talked about the microwave generation.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're real passionate about, you know, talking about relationships and the state of dating at this point. So, like, what is your take on microwave dating too? Because I feel like it's hard out here, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think it's definitely we live in an era where it's more so like, what can you do for me? And if you can't do it, it's next man up and next woman up. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's microwave dating. It's really like social media dating almost. We kind of like the same way we move on social media. We want everything quick. So it's definitely a bad generation for dating. You know what I mean? But I feel like it's like the pros of this generation, I feel like, is that it's kind of like what you see has always been, but it's like now we're in a time where you like it shows, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of the things that like women always wanted to do, the things they always wanted to say, the things men always wanted to do, they like the past generation, they held it in. They felt the same way, but they held it in. I think this generation is really like what you see is what you get, and then it shows. You know what I mean? So you can kind of pick and choose where you want to go. You know what I mean? So that's the pros of this generation.
That's tough because it's like shuffling cards. Because
sure.
You don't know, like, when you picking good or when you picking bad, and then by the time that you figured out you pick good, bro, it's like she gone.
Yeah, but see what I realize, I mean, like, this is another, like, for me personally, what works for me, especially when it comes to women, I've gotten to a point where as a man, I feel like we get very like judgmental, right? Like, just like offset, it's just the nature of men. Like I say, you know, a woman could do something, we'll go crazy. We do the same thing a billion times, and it's like we expect her to understand. You know what I mean? But it's like I've tapped into like understanding that everybody is human and everybody has a journey. You know what I'm saying? Like, every woman has a journey. And all women, in all honesty, they really just want somebody to understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't. I feel like we kind of like we're that when they think of us, when they come to us, they feel like they gotta put on the front or they gotta have this guard up. You know what I mean? So real. I mean, like I say, my advice for any man out there dealing with women is you just always be honest, man. Like 110% honest, even if it's the craziest thing ever. If she asks, you know what I'm saying, if she want to know, you got to be honest. And for two, just understand that like women human too. Like, we put them on too high of a pedestal and expect for them not to do things that, you know, like that are human. You can't do that.
So. Okay. So like, I feel like that's tough because as men, we get possessive.
For sure.
And people, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's hard, man. That's real. Like, seeing them as human, like, you really hit me. And I'm like, because I've been doing that lately, like a lot lately, you know, like I done leveled up financially, like I done leveled up, you know what I'm saying, just like maturing. Like a lot of stuff I used to get upset about, I don't, because I'm like, that's the society now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, if somebody, and one of my sergeants when I was deployed had to explain this to me, he's like, dog, if, he didn't say dog, he said sir, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like, it was just like, you know, we just chop it up, you know what I'm saying, here, brother. Yeah. So he was like, what you gonna do if she do cheat on you? How you gonna know? Why are you worried about it?
You can't, bro.
and that put everything in perspective. I'm like, wow. Like, I really gotta trust humans to be humans.
Yeah, and if she does, it's like, you know, you got to really understand, man, that everybody is really on their own path. I like really like, I mean, I've gotten to a point where, I mean, I think when you learn yourself enough, you kind of understand, and you tap into the world and you see the world for what it actually is and not what you want it to be. I've gotten to a point where I see the world for what it is now. Like, I used to be like, man, it should be like this. People shouldn't do this. We should be like this. We should come together. But the reality is that everybody has their own growth. Everybody learns at their own pace. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't force anybody to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, if a girl gonna be faithful, she gonna be faithful because she wants to. You can't make nobody cheat. You can't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but yeah, that's true.
You can't. You know what I mean? If you cheat, it's because you wanted to. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody can force you to cheat. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you just kind of, I just tapped into, you know what I'm saying? Like really like looking at the world for what it is. I know a lot of people do cheat. I think that it's almost insane. And I might sound crazy saying this, but I think what helped me out is I think it's almost insane to expect one person to meet one person and only deal with one person forever with all these people in the world, all these different sources of temptation. I'm not saying everybody has to physically cheat, but I feel like everybody in some form of fashion cheats. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
Right.
no, I get it.
So
And the more that you understand that like you don't possess anyone and you don't own anybody, the more the more not financial peace, but the more, you know what I'm saying, like mental and physical peace that you have with yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Cause I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, like one day it'd be cool to be, you know, get married, do the whole thing. But I'm like, if it don't happen, like I'm still cool. And like, I think one thing that you display really well is self-love, you know, and that's a hard place to get to. And even more so listening to your music is like you've had, and this may be, you know, just me speculating, but you've had people that they felt like they were, you know, solid, everything was going right in the world, and then their life got taken, you know what I'm saying, in the streets, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, one of the tracks, the city that you know came out with, I was like, man, like if life can be gone that fast, why am I arguing over something crazy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's deep. So you're currently a SECA, and so special education classroom assistant. So how did you get into that field, and what made you pursue that?
Well, I always had a thing for like the youth, you know what I mean? Just like trying to, you know, big the youth up. But I had my uncle, he told me he had a position for me. It was right after Lids, matter of fact, you know what I mean? He told me he had a position for me, and he was like, it's in the city. And I mean, I'm like, all right, cool. So when I went, I kind of, when I first went, I'm not gonna lie, the school was bad as hell. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was seeing so much, I'm like, damn, these kids, they different. But then like they gravitated towards me because I hooped and everything. You know, I dressed well. I dressed like I'm still young, you know what I mean? Enough to where they can relate to me, but I'm old enough to know right from wrong. So I think that was a bonus. But yeah, so I just kind of like I hit it off with the kids, and then after that it was like, you know, I mean, it's just like that's, to me, that's God's work. Like that's what I'm supposed to. I'm there for a reason. I'm supposed to do this.
That's real. Well, and culture is important when you're trying to relate to somebody. And I think a lot of people forget that. So I'm like, you got, I mean, this is me speculating, but like I was in, you know, like I had an IEP, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so like I was in a special ed classroom for a while because of behavior. And so like, but a lot of people, you can't necessarily, I'm not saying you want to disrespect them, but because you can't relate to them, you know, as a man, as an African-American, sometimes like you just like, who is this telling me about something? And we feel like they can't relate, even though poverty doesn't necessarily discriminate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's real that they have somebody like you. Because if I had somebody like you, like back when I was in school, like, okay, I might listen a little bit. Because he might have to cross me up, you know what I'm saying? Because if he can't hoop, I ain't listening to him.
Right. Yeah, no, they respect that though. You know what I mean? I think in our culture, that's just, it's almost sad, but it's the reality though. Like I say, we respect what we see glorified. You know what I mean? So hoops, fashion, rappers, like, you know what I'm saying? So if you see somebody that identify with those three things and money, you know what I mean, 9 times out of 10, the youth, that's what they gravitate towards, because that's all they know to be successful, the definition of successful. So, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like, I mean, of course, like I say, so they adapted to the, you know, the fashion and the hoops and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it was like that was the easiest way. Like I had them immediately because I look like somebody they see on TV. You know what I'm saying? So,
okay.
You know,
so what are some of, so a lot of people give Chicago a bad rap, and so what would you say to somebody who says Chicago, bad city, stuff like that? Like, because I see it all the time on the news, but like I be in the goal, and you know, like if I'm on my P's and Q's, I'm decent, but on certain sides, like, you know what I'm saying? What would you say to people that say, you know what I'm saying, Chicago, you know, Chirac all the time, everywhere, don't go to that city?
You can't knock until you try, man. I feel like that everybody got every area got their hoods, every area got their good, every area got their bad. I think that Chicago gets the reputation more so for the music. I think the artists kind of like navigated that narrative. I don't think that when Kanye was rapping, when Common was rapping, Chicago had that rap. You know what I mean? We was more so like an artsy, artsy grind, gotta get it, get up and go get it, like hustler. Like that was our narrative back in the day. But then like when Chief Keef and Lil Durk and all them, they came and they kind of navigated the whole Chirac. It was like violence, you know what I mean? And then people just took it and ran with it. But Chicago was a beautiful, and in certain places that are still beautiful in the city. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta come check it out. I think you can say something about like when you think LA, everybody be like Compton. You don't want to go to Compton. You know what I'm saying? But LA is so much bigger than Compton. You know what I mean? And Illinois is so much bigger than Chicago. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so I mean, California is bigger than, Compton. I mean, and Illinois is bigger than Chicago. But it's like Chicago got a lot of beautiful places, and you gotta come just check it out,
Okay. That's powerful. And so where do you see yourself, and if you had the optimal situation, where would you be in 10 years? Where would you be at? What would you be doing right?
Man, definitely like I say, the music, like somewhere like where the music probably would be like I'd be damn near like finna put it down kind of like, but then give back, man. Like I really wanna like utilize all my gifts and tools and eventually like to give back and create new hope for kids that didn't have, what I had, or people, not even just kids, but people that didn't have what I have. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I say, instead of being judgmental of how things are and how people are and how kids are, you know what I mean? I'm growing to learn that when you have something, your gift is not for you. You know what I mean? And so I feel like taking my gift and taking all the bad narratives, especially young Black people, women, men, whatever, and just taking my gifts and putting them all together to touch all kinds of people, not just kids, not just women, but touch everybody that I can. You know what I mean? So hopefully, I didn't put the music down and I can put myself in position to give back at that point.
Okay, that's real. Yeah. I might see you, on the board of a nonprofit one day.
You never know,
out there making it happen. Actually, it's funny. I've been thinking about it, so I'm gonna reach out to you because with the Hungry Millennial Network, I want to help the people. Like I want to give back, and so one of my thought processes was make it into a nonprofit to where we can have the right conversations, support communities, and doing things like that.
Right.
Because there's a lot of opportunities in all types of communities and things like that. And so one other thing I want to talk to you about is when it comes down to like race relations, like so I see you like hooping with like all types of people. And so are there any like stereotypes or anything that you like are people a little standoffish when you show up at the park to hoop with them, or like you think the culture has changed, or like what's your experience with that?
Nah, man, it's crazy because I think that like, like I say, I've been fortunate enough to like, I feel like one thing about me is that I kind of like take from all, like everything. So I mean, like it's certain things that different races might relate to. And I kind of grew up around everybody, like all kind of races. So when I go places, whether it's basketball or I go into like, usually people relate to me and I immediately it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like I carry myself like, you know what I mean, what they would say is the typical Black person or the typical white person. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm like a jack of all trades. I'm a blend. So it put me in a position to never be out of my comfort zone. Like I'm always cool. I can be around white people, I can be around Black people, I can be around Mexicans. I'm gonna be in my comfort zone because I've had, when I was younger, I grew up with all kind of friends. You know what I mean? So
okay. All right. That's real. So, as we, get ready to wrap up the podcast, is there anything that you want to, leave the audience with, any gems or anything like that?
Nah, man, for one, I want to tell you to keep doing what you're doing, bro. Like I know it's a slow grind, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's definitely worth the grind because it's the harder it is to gain, the harder it is to lose. You know what I'm saying? Once you get it. So, I mean, I appreciate what you're doing. I see you, bro. Like if nobody never told you, I don't know who. And I mean that from my heart, bro. I see you. You know what I mean? So keep doing what you're doing. Keep striving for excellence, bro. and just, you know what I'm saying, keep doing you. And that's for anybody who watched this, you know what I'm saying? I feel like we can do anything, but we just, you know what I'm saying, like manifest our thoughts and put the time and energy into, you know, whatever it is we're trying to achieve. So I salute you, bro. Thank you, you know what I'm saying, for having me on. Just the acknowledgement alone to me is like my driving force in life. You know what I mean? The fact that you acknowledge me for what I do, you know what I mean? That's like hats off to you. So love, bro, for real.
Yeah, dog. You know what? And I really appreciate you because, like, when it comes to like style and it comes to like me working on myself and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, well, he got the liner with the crispy with the, you know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
like, I was like, man, I need to get some clippers. Like, I need to stay fresh a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? And it's great that you see all these people that you run through, you know, run into in life, and you kind of feed off of that energy. You know what I'm saying? And people don't even know that you feed off their energy a lot of times. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
that's great.
Because we really don't give people they flowers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it'd be awkward. Like people like, I don't know, there's like a emotional disconnect, it seems like a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, you know, a lot of times I just tell people, hey man, hey, what you doing is tight. And people like, what you mean? Because I do the same thing. Somebody sent me a long message about like, hey, you know, I like how authentic the message and, you know, all the stuff you're doing is. I'm like, who, me? Right. But you don't realize the power that you have as a person.
Yeah, and that's you got to tap into that.
That's crazy,
because you can do it, and I think that's like a big issue, man. Like with Black people, especially, I think that we've been like, you know, frowned upon, and you know, just how we are. Like we talk about each other, you know what I mean? So we think so small, like we don't really understand that like the power is within you. Like we look up to LeBron James, we look up to Kobe Bryant, we look up to Steve Harvey, whoever doing whatever. But it's like, that is you know what I'm saying? And that is me.
Yeah.
Well, you know
that's
what I'm saying?
Crazy.
Like, it really is. It's just a matter of believing in yourself. And a lot of times we don't have that support system to like kind of gas us. Cause I feel like everybody needs to be gassed sometimes. Like it's hard to just motivate and have confidence. Just sometimes you need that push or that encouragement, you know what I mean? From your peers or whether it's your mom, you know what I mean? And we just not, our culture isn't raised like that. You know what I mean? We more competitive with each other. If I see you doing a podcast, I got to do a podcast because my podcast got to be better. It's not like, nah, bro, I see you doing your damn thing. Keep doing your thing, bro. You can do any, like, we don't talk to each other like that. So, you know what I'm saying? Oh, like I say, thank you for giving me my flowers, bro. And like, I've definitely given you yours, man. So, you know what I mean? You never know, like, when your last day is. So, like, it's love, bro. I appreciate it.
No, that's real. That's definitely real. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a Proactive Pragmatism episode of Millennials Are with Myles Morgan. We appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you, my boy.